The Sunday morning before our trip to the Poconos, I get woken up from a lot of commotion out my bedroom window. I open the blinds and see cop cars and cops out back going through our dumpster. When I got outside to see what's going on, the cops stopped me from getting closer. An unmarked car pulls up and out steps two familiar faces in suits. Fuck, it's the two FBI agents that stopped by my store and showed me photographs of me with the mob. The cops let them look in the dumpster. Now there's a small crowd gathering, and next thing you know, TV stations show up with their cameras running. I hear one of the reporters say, "Another mob hit in Philly." I went back into the bar and called Danny, but he doesn't pick up. My mind's racing. I'm thinking crazy shit, like what if that's Danny in the dumpster? I went to go lock the back door and head up to my apartment to watch from there when in comes the FBI agents. "Hello, Richie, you remember me and my partner?" "Yeah, it's Farrell, right, Special Agent Farrell, but I didn't get your partner's name." His partner says, "Special Agent Martin." Agent Farrell points to a booth and says, "Can we sit there and talk?" We sat down, and before they said a word, I said, "I want to know who's in the dumpster." "Richie, you don't know," Agent Farrell said. That's when I knew it had to be Danny. I stood up and said I want to see for myself. They both got out of the booth to stop me. Then all of a sudden, the front door opens and in comes Danny. I wanted to run up and hug him, but I didn't want them knowing that I thought it was him in the dumpster. Danny asked them what they wanted, and Special Agent Farrell said, "Danny Mac, the Irishman, do I have that right?" "You got that right, so tell me, what do you boys want?" "We want to know how Johnny Delino, you guys know him as Detroit Johnny, ended up in your dumpster with two to the back of his head and his right-hand index finger cut off." "Nah, can't be Detroit Johnny," Danny said. "I read he's in the Witness Protection Program." Special Agent Farrell's about to ask another question when the back door opens and another FBI agent hollers in, "Special Agent Farrell, you're going to want to see this." Danny and I went to follow him out, but Special Agent Martin stopped us. We went over to the window and looked out. There are agents all over wearing blue windbreaker jackets with FBI on the back. The whole area is covered with crime scene tape. All the trash is out of the dumpster, and next to it is Detroit Johnny's body. Special Agent Farrell has white surgical gloves on. He's holding what looks like my gun in his hand. Another agent is taking close-up pictures of it. Danny and I walked back to the booth. We sat down. He leans forward and in a low voice says, "You did report it stolen, right?" Before I could answer, Special Agent Farrell comes in with other FBI agents behind him. He's carrying a plastic bag with the gun in it. He puts it on the table and says, "Does this belong to either one of you?" Both special agents walk me out of the bar with handcuffs on. Danny tells me not to talk until his lawyer gets there. I had my leather jacket over my head to hide my face from the TV cameras that were on me while they put me in the back of their car. Before we pulled away, I looked out the window and caught a glance of Detroit Johnny's face before the coroner zipped up the body bag. The last time I was in the federal building was when my Bulber buddies, Frankie and Mike, got busted. Back then, I went through the front doors. Now I'm going through the back doors. I dodged a bullet that day, and now I'm taking one. They took me to an interrogation room, uncuffed me, and sat me at a table that has boxes that are filled with folders that have dates on them. Two men and a woman come in. Special Agent Farrell introduces them to me. They're FBI agents from the Trenton, New Jersey office. They all sat down at the table and started going through folders and taking out photographs. It seemed like they wanted me to see who's in the photos they're passing back and forth to one another. I'm catching a few of them with me in the casinos with the Gamtucci family and Detroit Johnny. They even had recent photos of the two young Turks going in and coming out of Danny Mac's. Then I'm seeing photos of Joe DeVito, Charlie Myers, and casino hosts from other casinos. They even have one of me and Carla having dinner in the Coliseum. But the photos that really caught my attention were the ones they had of the factory fire. I noticed a phone in the back of the room. I asked if I could make a call and they let me, but told me to keep it short. I called Danny at the bar. He told me once more not to talk, the lawyer is on his way. I sat back down and Special Agent Farrell starts talking. "Richie, we know you're not going to talk until your lawyer gets here, but you should know that we're not charging you with Johnny's death. But you will have to answer to how he got your gun. Was the gun used in his death?" "Forget about the gun for now. There are two reasons why we brought you in today, Richie. What happened with Johnny wasn't only paid back for him flipping, it was also to send a message for Danny Mac to cooperate with the young Turks who have moved in on the old regime. Cutting off the index finger is a trademark of Little Nicky Longo's crew, and Danny Mac knows that. So tell me, what's the reason I'm here?" First, you can tell us how Johnny Delino got your gun, and if no laws were broken, there'll be no charges. I don't know all the gun laws, so it's best I wait till my lawyer gets here. That's fine, Richie, but here's the other reason why you're here. He reached for a folder and said, "Since we talked last year, we obtained more information on your involvement in our investigation of illegal money being laundered in the Atlantic City casinos." He starts taking more photos out of the folder. He puts them in front of me. There are ones of me with Joey Stakes exchanging money, and photos taken from different casino security cameras of me bringing carry-on cases filled with thousands of dollars in small bills into preferred players' cashiers' cages. They even had ones of me getting out of the Coliseum's limo behind Cafe Lucia's in Margate, New Jersey, and giving Detroit Johnny the saltwater taffy box with loose chips in it. Then he dumps out a folder on the table with more photos of the factory fire, and he says, "That was a nice score, Richie. And so was that other insurance one. What do they call it?" He looks over at Special Agent Martin and he says, "The Big D." Special Agent Farrell leans forward and says, "Before we have to indict you on multiple charges, how about doing the right thing? Tell us what casino employees along with owners know where that money was coming from that you were laundering." I didn't know what to say, but I didn't matter because Danny's lawyer, Neil Rossman, shows up. He sits next to me, opens up his briefcase, and says to the agents, "What do we got?" I sat and listened to Rossman busting the feds' chops. He gave them two choices, either book me or let me go. It looked to me that I dodged another bullet, but then another agent comes in and takes Special Agent Farrell to the other side of the room. They have a few words. He comes back and says, "Richie, you're under arrest for aiding and abetting a prohibited person the possession of a firearm." Rossman tells me he'll have me out in no time. They took a mugshot and fingerprinted me. Then they brought me before a federal magistrate. After that, they put me in a holding cell. 3 days later, a federal judge grants my release until my trial date. Danny picked me up. He tells me they had a warrant to search my apartment and they took my safe, but that's about it. I told him I'm sorry for not reporting the gun stolen, and he said after what Neil Rossman told him, it wouldn't have made a difference. Those pricks would have come up with another charge. He told me Rossman said they're looking for something bigger than a gun charge. I asked him if Rossman told him what that was. He said no. I told him what the feds want me to do. After hearing that, I asked him what I should do. "I remember when DeVito in the 70s bought the Golden Mines in Vegas," he said. "Everyone on the street knew where he got the money to do that, and so did the feds. That's why they put him through the ringer before he got approved for a gaming license in Atlantic City. Now he's out of there, but in a few months he's opening up the Illusions off the Vegas Strip. He spent over $900 million to build it, and I'm sure somebody got a piece of that too." Danny, I told those FBI pricks I didn't ask Joey Stakes where his money came from, and he never asked me where mine came from. We were gambling partners, that's all. I told Charlie Myers the same thing when he asked me if anyone contacted me from the Casino Control Commission about laundering illegal money in the Golden Mines. That was back when they were holding hearings for the Golden Mines gaming license renewal. I'm sure you're not the only one the feds are talking to, but Richie, if they can prove that DeVito or his employees, especially Charlie Myers, who's been on their radar from when he was a bookmaker in New York, knew the money you were cleaning was coming from the Gamtucci family, they'll go after DeVito's Nevada gaming license. If that happens, you'll have to go in the witness protection program. Fuck that, I said. I'd rather do the time. If the feds don't get their way, Richie, they'll be looking to put you away for a long time. I told him what the feds said about Johnny's index finger being cut off. He said he made a call, and when things settle down, he's going to have a sit-down with the Young Turks and work it out. Before we got to the bar, I asked him how he knew Rossman and what's he going to cost me. He said, "Forget about it. I got you covered. Rossman's the best criminal Jew lawyer in Philly. He ain't cheap, but he'll get the job done. The feds know him good, so God forbid there's a conviction, he'll get you the best deal." Once in my apartment, I checked my messages on my phone, and there were 3, one from Raymond. He said he saw me on TV being locked up by the FBI. He kept asking if I was all right. I hear Jackie in the background telling him to hang up the phone. I called him back and got his answering machine. I left a message telling him it was all a misunderstanding and that everything's fine. The other messages were from my sister and my lawyer, Jerry Fine. I called my sister. I told her the reason they took me in was because they found my stolen gun with the dead guy in our dumpster. She laughed when I told her it was her fault for making me read the Godfather book. I called Jerry and he tells me not to call Raymond or Jackie if I try to make any contact with them. Jackie is going to get a restraining order. I got off the phone with Jerry and I looked around to see what the feds took. Besides my safe, they took my voice recorder, recorded tapes, and my unfinished manuscript. The safe has all my banking, insurance, and my casino information in it. I'm sure the special agents are having a field day with that. I called Rhonda, but I got her answering machine. I took a shower and washed away that cell smell on me. I tried to take a short nap, but I couldn't sleep. I went down to the bar. Danny's at the bar wearing a suit. I asked him where he's going. Johnny's viewing is tonight, he said. I was waiting for you to come down to see if you want to go, but it's probably better you don't. While I'm there, if there's something you want me to say to Johnny, I'll relay your message. I looked at Danny and I can see he's dead serious. All of a sudden, this strange feeling came over me and I start laughing hysterically. That makes Danny laugh until tears came out of our eyes. When I could finally speak, I told Danny to tell Detroit Johnny if he gets to speak to the big guy, tell him Richie the tailor wants to know who he worships. Danny stops laughing and says, "Wow, that's a good question. I never thought about that." I didn't want Danny going to Johnny's viewing by himself, when knowing the old regime he was affiliated with is being ousted by the Young Turks who are looking for a piece of his action. I had one of our bouncers go with him. That night I'm getting a lot of respect, especially from the wannabe mobsters. There's a lot of toasting going on for the new gangster in town, Richie the Tailor. In the meantime, I'll be sleeping with one eye open.